Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be something a little bit different today. Today we're going to be looking at the Canadian Forces Infantry ranks explained, and we'll be dealing specifically with the enlisted ranks today. And before I get started, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you like the video, leave a like and definitely leave a comment. Especially if you think that I got something wrong. So I'm making this video because I've seen a lot of other videos where people are just reading off of whatever charts are available to them, and they don't really have any kind of a clue what actually happens in the Canadian Infantry. And as a member of the Royal Canadian Regiment and a serving member of 1RCR from 1987 to 1998, I'm reasonably familiar with what each of these ranks do. So let's get into it. The first one is a private recruit. So a private recruit is not trained yet. He's in recruit school, whether it be basic training or whether it be basic infantry training, trades training, which is also called TQ3. Basic training would be TQ2. I don't even know what TQ1 is, to be honest. And keep in mind, I'm giving you this information from when I was in from 87 to 98. So if things have changed, let me know in the comments down below. But a private recruit would have nothing on his arm or on his epaulette. And his epaulette would be in the front or right around his chest level. So he'd either wear it on the arm or on the epaulette, depending. And that's it. They're just in training. Now, once a private finishes training and goes to the battalion, they still have no rank badges anywhere, and they're called a private basic. A private basic is a section member. He or she would be in an infantry section, a rifle section, and that would be about it. They're still just learning the ropes. They do basically the least complicated jobs that are available in the battalion. Next would be a private trained. A private trained has at least a year in, and they have at least one TQ4 course passed. And the TQ4 courses in 1RCR were many and varied. The first one that I got was my reconnaissance course. I think the next one would have been, possibly my driver track course, my dozer course, communications operator, mortar operator, pioneer, driver wheel. There are other courses. I'm forgetting probably 5 or 6 of them, but there's a lot. And then there's like basic winter warfare, basic mountain ops. There's desert warfare. There's a whole host of training. Basically, you can be on training once or twice a year in the battalion, probably for your first 6 to 8 years in the battalion. And then you're going to start actually teaching courses after that. So next will come a corporal. Oh, by the way, a private trained is still a rifleman in a section. Next, and a private trained could be going, because they're trained now, they could actually start going to be a section member in one of the combat support platoons. A corporal will generally be a section 2IC, a rifle section 2IC, or could be, depending on how many they've got, they could be a rifleman, or they could be a section member in one of the support platoons. A corporal is now starting to show some leadership. A corporal will have technically what's called a 5s course. In the infantry, that they don't really have a fives course. It's not really a thing in the infantry, or at least it wasn't when I was there. But in general, a corporal will get promoted after 4 years. Um, and that is the final rank where you're expected to be, or you could be a rifleman in a rifle section, or a section member in a support section. After that, you get Master Corporal. Now, a Master Corporal needs a TQ6A course, and that's really called a pressure course, a leadership course. This course qualifies you right up to be a sergeant, actually. Although a sergeant does need, in the infantry at least, a sergeant does need another course. We'll get into that in a second. There you go. A master corporal will generally be a section commander of a rifle section, or possibly a section 2IC, or maybe a section commander of a combat support section, combat support platoon. The combat support platoons are generally recce, SIGs, mortars, pioneers. Combat intelligence. I think that's it. I think those are or at least those are the main ones. So a master corporal, still a junior NCO, and this is really the first rank of combat commander. Next will come a sergeant. A sergeant also obviously has to be 6A qualified, but will then require their small arms instructor's course. A sergeant could be a rifle section commander, but more likely would be a rifle platoon 2IC, or he will be a section commander in one of the support platoons. After that comes a warrant officer. Now, this is where we start really departing. I mean, we departed in the master corporal level from the way the Americans and a lot of other countries do things, but here's where we really start departing from where the Americans do things, because the Americans have a concept of a warrant officer. It bears no resemblance on a Canadian concept of a warrant officer. A warrant officer in the Canadian forces is generally, I mean, again, it's theoretically possible that they could be a platoon 2IC of a rifle company, but more often than not, they're going to be either the company quartermaster or they're the platoon 2IC of one of the support platoons. These are now, well, actually, sergeant is a senior NCO, warrant officer is a senior NCO, and you're starting to get up into the ranks where there's very few of these guys in a battalion. Next is going to come a master warrant officer. Master warrant officer is generally only a company sergeant major. That's it. He's the senior enlisted member of a company. I mean, you could call him the third in command of the company. He's responsible for all of the logistics of the company and the enlisted troops of the company, making sure they have everything they need to prosecute the battle, making sure that he's got all of the casualty reports, all of the stores reports, the expenditure reports, and making sure everyone gets what they need when they're going into battle. There's generally only one per company, so 5 really in an infantry battalion. So 5 or 6, I mean, depending. Like if you're talking 3 rifle companies, combat support, and logistics support, generally 5 master warrant officers. After master warrant officer comes chief warrant officer. So a chief warrant officer would be a battalion RSM. RSM stands for Regimental Sergeant Major. This is your RSM of the company. This is your your senior enlisted man in the battalion. He is, and again, so this guy reports essentially only to the battalion CO. He can, I mean, it's kind of an unwritten rule, but he tacitly outranks anybody below the rank of captain or maybe even a major. Like, I've seen a chief warrant officer stand lieutenants to attention before, if they were crossing the parade square while he was giving drill. Like, I've seen it happen. It's funny. But you the commanding officer of a battalion is not a high enough rank to charge a chief warrant officer. I believe you need a general rank in order to charge a chief warrant officer with any kind of a crime or disciplinary action. So, like, this guy is the next best thing to God that you have in the battalion. And those are the ranks of the battalion. After the ranks of the battalion come three more appointments. And these, I mean, they call them appointments, but they're really promotions, right? So after the battalion RSM, chief warrant officer, you can get promoted to base chief warrant officer. A base chief warrant officer, there's generally, again, there's only one of them per base. And this would be the senior enlisted man on the entire base. And a base in Canada generally is a combined arms base. So they'll have an infantry battalion or two in some cases. They'll have an armored, I guess it's called a regiment. I'm not quite sure. They'll have a combat engineer or an engineer regiment. They'll have a artillery regiment. There'll likely be, in fact, in almost all cases that I know of, there'll be a helicopter squadron, logistics, like, everything needed on a base. After that, you could get promoted to command chief warrant officer. There are only, to my knowledge, three command chief warrant officers in the Canadian military. That would be one for the command of the Army, one for command of the Navy, one for command of the Air Force. And then from there, you'll get to Canadian Forces Command Chief Warrant Officer, or maybe it's just Canadian Forces Chief Warrant Officer. I can't remember. These two ranks, the Command Chief Warrant Officer ranks and the Canadian Forces Chief Warrant Officer ranks, these men generally deal with the careers of all of the enlisted men and women in the military. And that's it. That is the entire Canadian Forces enlisted rank structure. So, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any comments, any questions, leave them down below, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. If you want any more specific information about any of the different ranks, let me know. I was a master corporal when I got out of the Army. So I know that level intimately well. But then again, I mean, I worked for these guys for 12 years. So I'm well versed in what's going on there. So again, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the video if you liked it. Any comments that you want to ask, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.